Hi everyone, and welcome to the Publishing Performance Show. Today I'm delighted to be joined by Damon Courtney, who's the creator of BookFunnel. So thank you for joining me, Damon.
Absolutely. Happy to be here.
So tell me a bit about yourself, like what got you starting BookFunnel in the first place?
So I actually self-published a fantasy trilogy. This was back in 2011 when publishing was, I won't say easier, although some people would tell you so, but it was certainly a lot simpler. There weren't as many things that you had to do. And anybody coming into publishing now kind of has to learn so many things as they come in. But back in the heady days and the gold rush days of 2011, 2014, I had published a fantasy trilogy and had given no thought whatsoever to marketing or even what that was or how you did it or anything. I was just like, I'm going to write a book about dragons because I love dragons. And so I had done that and then decided to start learning marketing and started learning about funnels and how all that sort of stuff works. And the prevailing advice at the time, and it's still pretty true today for most authors getting in, is like to build your funnel, offer readers some sort of free thing. Now we call them reader magnets, but back in the day, it was just like, a short story, a novella, something like that. And I thought that was a great idea. So I went off and I wrote a novella and decided that I would give that away for free. And then came to find out that there really wasn't a good way to do that. Everybody at the time, the biggest authors in the game were all just emailing people, EPUBs and PDFs. And while I thought that was probably fine for somebody like me, who's a fairly techie, I've been an engineer my whole life. I kind of had this thought, like, I don't know that other mortals are going to know how to get this onto a Kindle. And so started looking into that, figuring, well, I'll just write up a little set of instructions. And then as time went on, I would hear more and more that so I'm not the only one who has this problem, right? Other people have discovered this. And then I'm an engineer. So I'm like, I can solve that problem. And then went off and tried to solve it. And as it happened, I think we did a pretty good job. We're still here 10 years later and doing, probably 150,000 books a day now. I mean, it's a lot.
Crazy.
We deliver and audiobooks too. That got added much later, but we're ebooks, audiobooks. We deliver a lot of stuff every day.
Yeah. The books you wrote for yourself originally, are they still available to purchase?
They are. Yeah. Actually, I want to make a project out of reformatting them because, 2011, we were all just using Scrivener, which is fine. It's actually a great writing tool. As a formatting tool, it was always sort of limited, but, it made a proper EPUB and it looked okay. Now we have tools like Vellum and Atticus that can just make gorgeous books. And so I've always had it sort of on my project list. Like, I probably need to just reformat them because they are still up and available and you can find them. Nobody does because now, if you don't do any marketing at all, your books are just going to sink to the bottom and no one will ever find them.
Great. So I think for a lot of people listening to this, some of the terminology you've just said, maybe not understandable. So what is a funnel? What does that mean?
So, funnel is a marketing term, right? We use, it's funny because you're right. We use all these lingos and things that we use as shorthand in the industry, but we stole authors stole this term from the marketing world, which is a funnel is just as you imagine. It's a big thing at the top and it funnels down to a small thing at the bottom. And the idea is that if you can get more people in the door, in the case of marketing terms, if you're a store, you're a retail store, the more people you can get in the door, then the more things that you're ultimately going to sell. But it's never going to be 100%. 100% of people that walk through the door are not going to buy something. So that's the idea of the funnel. Lots of people at the top and a smaller amount of people coming out the bottom. We stole self-published authors. We stole the term and created a book funnel, which of course is we're trying to sell books. We're authors and that's ultimately the goal, is to sell our books. And so, but the same principles all apply. We need to get people in the top so that we can filter it down and get people out the bottom that are then going to go on to purchase our books.
So what does that top of the funnel look like?
So how do you discover people, right? And discoverability is the big problem. It always has been, right? It's a big problem now, but even back in 2010, 2011, it was always the problem of how do we get people to find our books? And so just like when I started building BookFunnel, the idea was, well, if you can get people onto your mailing list, then you have a way, or a newsletter, whatever you want to call it. The two terms are interchangeable. But if we can get people onto that list, then when I have another book to sell, I have a way to reach those people. And back then it was even easier to reach people. Now, Facebook is pay to play. If you want to reach even people that have said, I want to follow this person, I want to hear what they have to say. And Facebook's like, yeah, but do you really? I mean, like, if they give me $20, maybe then I'll let you hear what they have to say. And so the idea of having a mailing list always really appealed to me. And I think it does to most indie authors, because indie, right? The whole idea is we didn't want to go this route of giving our books to other people and having other people be in charge of how our books are getting out there into the world. And so a typical funnel, a book funnel for an author might look like, hey, you know, at the back of my book, you get to the end of book one, or you land on my website. However you get there, it's, hey, I have this free novella, or I have this free short story. If you want an introduction to my writing or an introduction to my world, you can have that for free. Just join my newsletter. You can cancel, you unsubscribe at any time. But if you read this, you will get an idea of the kind of writing that I have and the kinds of stories that I tell, and determine whether that works for you.
So the funnel is basically the way of getting people into your mailing list at the top end. It's not really a way of selling books necessarily at first. It's more a way of getting them into your mailing list so that you can sell them when a new book comes out, or tell them a bit more information about your writing style or something about you that makes them start thinking about you more often.
Yeah. So the biggest difference that we as authors have versus like a retail business, right? So a store would use what they call a loss leader, or something where, you know, if you've ever been to a Black Friday sale, if you've ever been to one though, they're like, oh, here's a vacuum cleaner for 82 cents. And the thing is like they're losing money on that. But the idea is that they've only got, you know, 50 of those. And then once you're here, I'm going to get you to buy more stuff. Right. Mm-hmm. If you're in the US and you go to a gas station now, it'll be like, oh, it's $2.89 a gallon, or that's for credit, or it's $2.70 a gallon for cash. Well, because they want you to walk in the store, because then you're going to pick up a bag of Doritos and a Mountain. Well, I'm going to pick up a bag of Doritos and a Mountain Dew. And so all of that is designed to get you through the door. The problem that you have in the digital world is you might land on my website, and then within 30 seconds, click away, and I'll never see you again. And it's much, much harder in the physical world. Once I've got you through the door, I got all kinds of ways that I can entice you to stay. And so that's what you're trying to do in the digital. In the digital equivalent of that, you've landed on my website. Hey, let me offer you this free thing. You know, while I've got your attention here, let me give you this free thing to get you over to my list. Once you're on my list, well, now you're effectively in the door, and I can kind of start pitching you as things. And it's all very delicate. You don't want to be like, buy my book, buy my book, buy my book. You want to be like, hey, you know, you landed here because you like fantasy, you like dragons, you like wizards, you like, at least you landed on my page, you did. So like, let me tell you about my stories, but you can't do that. If you do that on a website, they might read it, they might not, they might disappear in 10 seconds. And so the idea in the case of a digital funnel, I guess, is I need to get you over on my list, and then I can start slowly giving you little bits of information that will lead you down that funnel and ultimately lead to buying my book. You could certainly put your books right up on the front page of your website, and maybe somebody who's never heard of you will, if your ad copy is really good and you're really, really good at it, somebody might look at that and go, yeah, sure, I'm going to buy those. I'll give it a try. But you're much more likely, as the stores have found out, if I give you the 82-cent vacuum cleaner, to then like, oh, well, I've already got the vacuum cleaner in my cart. Oh, I need some batteries, and I need a Bic lighter, and oh, there's a great deal on Food Ninja. I'll get that too, right?
Perfect. But so one thing I was going to ask was, I've heard of people giving away their book for free, maybe to try and get people to sign up for their mailing list. But why would you have a funnel rather than just a giveaway of the book?
Well, because the 100%, again, like think about the funnel, and it's like 100% of people get in the top. And if we're really, really good, like in marketing, a conversion rate of like 5 or 6% would be bonkers, right? We love that, right? And so we know that not everybody who gets in the top is going to make it out the bottom. Our goal is, of course, to try to get as many people out the bottom as possible, because those are people that are going to go on to buy our books. And so the funnel is not just the free thing. The free thing is the first thing. That's how we get them in the top. The next thing might be, well, listen, you can pick up my first book for 99 cents, right? So I got you with the free novella. And then the next layer down the funnel sort of is, you can read, if you like that, you can pick up the first book in my series for 99 cents. If you have a long running series, some authors will offer the first book for free. So not only did you get the free novella, hey, listen, you can read the first book for free. The biggest problem that you have in being an author today is readers have so many books that they can choose from. And so whatever you've done to get them here, wherever here is, be it on your newsletter, be it in your website, on your Facebook group, something you did worked because you got their eyeballs and you got them here. Now that they're here, you want to keep leading them slowly down the funnel so that they don't like tip over out the top. We want them to come out the bottom and then buy more of those books. And so anything that you can, the old adage in marketing is it's way easier to keep a customer than it is to make a new one. So whatever you did to get them in the top of the funnel, great. You did a great job. You got them there. The idea of the funnel is now you have to slowly lead them down until they become one of the success stories and they come out the bottom. The great thing is that, if you're out there writing genre fiction, which, of course is mostly what I'm talking about, although it also works in nonfiction. But if you're out there writing genre fiction, if you're writing things as parts of series or even in world, if you like to do standalones, if you're doing like Brandon Sanderson, who writes in series, but he also writes individual novels, but they're all part of his Cosmere, right? Which is his huge universe that he's creating. And so he can give you these cool little standalone novels, but they're all in a world that you're familiar with, and they all do tie together in some way. So if I can get you into that, right? If I could get you in the top, and I give you, even just giving you a few free things to get you to read them, then I've got a whole lot of books to sell you. And what you generally find and what they talk about is the average lifetime value of a reader. And so if you calculate that out and you say, okay, I know that if I get somebody in the top of my funnel and I get them out the bottom, meaning they actually go on to buy my books, that the average lifetime value of a reader who gets into my funnel and makes it out the bottom is $38, because I've got long series and I've got lots to sell them. Well, then now you have an idea of, if it costs you $1 to get somebody in the top, but you know that if you get them out the bottom, you're going to make $38, then you have a lot of wiggle room. You were like, well, sure, I'll give you the first book for free. I know. So Lindsay Baroker is a fantasy author. And years ago, she would, like a lot of people, once she put her books out widely available, she'd make the first book free. But what she learned over time was that you could give somebody one book and they might read it and they might really like it and go on and read the rest of the series. And that's great. That's what we all want, right? Her series tend to be about 9 or 10 books long. And what she figured out over the years was, if I give you the first 3 books for free, almost no one reads through to book 3 and then goes, I don't think I'd like to continue this series, right? Plenty of people might pick up book 1 and go, that was nice, but maybe I'll get around to book 2 later. But once you're 3 books in, you're pretty hooked. You're going to read the rest of the series. So if I give you the first 3 books for free, which is a very deep funnel, right? I got 7 more books to sell you at full price at $6.99 a piece. So that's okay. Giving you the first 3 for nothing works for me. So she would box those once the series had gone out. And it was complete once the series was done, right? So not when she had book 4, but when she had all 7, the rest of them to sell you, she would take the first 3 and box those up. And that would be her magnet. Hey, if you want to read the series, read the first 3, because it's really easy if they're reading book 1 to then just tap the next page and keep going on to book 2. And, I'm enjoying this. Let me go on to book 3. Once I've got she looked at all of her stats and said, once I've got you in 3 books, I've got you for the rest of the series. So why not just give you the 3 books and get you hooked right from the start?
Yeah. That's really interesting. I've never heard of that strategy of giving away the first 3 books, because it makes perfect sense. If you're giving away 3, it's the same as giving away 1, because your series is so long that it keeps people hooking in.
It doesn't work if you don't have if you've only got 5 books, don't give away 3.
Yeah.
But if you've got 10, if you've got 9, sure, why not? If I'll give you a third of it, because again, I'm going to get you full price on all of the rest of them. I don't discount the rest of the series. And if you're hooked at 3, I've never read 3 books in a series that was 10 books and went, Yeah. No, if I'm 3 books in, I'm buying all of them.
Definitely. I know of my favorite authors, like Robert Harris. He's a historical author in the UK and he does 1 book a year. I basically just pay for the full price ebook every single year because I know I'm going to love it. So he doesn't even need a funnel for me, but I can see exactly how it would work. People get hooked and then bring them in.
Well, and that is the true goal at the end of the funnel. It's not just to find a reader, right? We talk about this and we talk about the reader journey, which for us is they've never heard of you, which congratulations. Guess what? There's 8 billion people on the planet who've never heard of you. So there's a lot of upside. They've never heard of you. They've read one of your books. Okay. I can read a book by an author and go, that was nice. That doesn't make me a fan, but it puts me on the road to it. Right. And so then I read a couple of your books and I go, okay, well, now I'm a fan. But ultimately what we want you to get to is what we call superfan level. Superfan level is I will buy everything you publish forever and ever. You know, Brandon Sanderson's big blowout Kickstarter a few years ago that made like $42 million. I am a Brandon Sanderson superfan. I read all of his books. And so here he comes and his Kickstarter offer was literally, I have 4 novels. They're in the Cosmere. I'm not going to tell you the titles. I'm not going to tell you what they're about, but you can buy them. And people said, shut up and take my money. Right. So Brandon Sanderson and people, even the people that weren't super fans were just like, oh, this is really interesting. Right. I like his books. Maybe I'll try those out. And what's crazy is even people that weren't part of his audience joined in because they just wanted to be part of the rush. Right. But for me, I did not care what those books were about. I basically pre-order all of his books when they come out anyway. So for me, I was like, yeah, great. 4 books. You're not going to tell me what they are. I don't care. I know they're going to be great because I like that author. I am a super fan of Brandon Sanderson. So in the same way that you just, whatever your book is, I'll buy it. Just give it to me.
I've got a presentation I'm doing actually after this with Aaron from Book Rockstar. And this funnel is we're talking about the marketing funnel rather than BookFunnel, but it was the exact same thing where we've got discoverability and then conversion. And then at the bottom, it's like advocacy. And that's the point you're talking about. When you've gone all the way through that funnel, you're like, now you're a super fan and you're going to just buy. And that's a great example of the exact thing we were just talking about.
Yeah. And the beauty is that, you know, if I'm sure you've heard of the 1,000 true fans theory, but the reason that theory works is not just that these people, you know, let's say you have a few hundred super fans, which means they're going to buy everything you publish forever and ever. Amen. So you put out a couple of books a year, or even if as a trad author, you're putting out 1 book a year. It's not just that those people are going to buy all of your books. Those are the people, the super fans that are going to go out and evangelize you to everybody. Those are the people that are standing in, you know, at an airport and they see that you're reading a book like the ones you like. And you go, oh my God, have you read Brandon Sanderson? And they're like, oh no, I've never heard of Brandon. Oh my God, he's amazing. You'd love him. Right. So they go out and talk you up all of the time. And that is when we talk about marketing, that is the holy grail, right? That there are people out there doing your marketing for you and you don't even have to put the effort in anymore. I mean, you still have to keep putting the effort in to get more people into the top of your funnel. But once we get them out the bottom and we get them through some of our books, they become our super fans and they will go out and tell everybody they know how much they love these books, much like I'm sitting here on this podcast telling everybody how much I love Brandon Sanderson, right?
Yeah, exactly. Now with the funnel, so we'll talk about the top level in a minute, but once you've got people in, you've got these different stages to it. Now, what do those different stages look like and how does BookFunnel make them work? So
so BookFunnel, the company, we have a lot of tools to get people in the top. So we have group promotions and author swaps and things like that so that you can find those new readers, right? So let's say that you are, so, you know, we have this difference between organic and inorganic traffic. Organic traffic would be somebody reads one of my books, the first book in my series. Don't know how they got there, but sometimes, I mean, it still happens that people just happen to be browsing around Amazon and go, oh, that looks like a good book. However they got there, they read my book, they get to the end, and in the back it says, hey, join my newsletter, get the free short story or free novella that comes at the beginning of the story. And so now they've made it to my list, and I know they made it from the back of my book. That is what we call organic traffic. I didn't do anything extra other than make the link available in the back of my book. But that means that person got there because they read my book, they liked it enough that they wanted to hear more. And then they were willing to give their email address to hear more of the story, right? And so that's over on my mailing list. I'm like, oh, that's a good lead. That's not a lead. That's somebody who's already read some of my stuff. So now they're already kind of midway. They came in like midway down the funnel, right? But we're talking about the very top, and that is leads. So people who just came in and were like, yeah, I picked up your free thing, right? It was free. It had a dragon on the cover, so I was interested, right? Now, your job, when you think about the funnel and getting people down, once I've got you on my mailing list, that does not mean that you're going to read my thing, right? I gave you a free thing, but guess what? Readers get free books all the time now, right? Free ebooks, not so much in the physical world because that costs people money, but it costs authors almost nothing to give away free ebooks. And so that is a very, very popular way to get people in the top of your funnel. But just because they landed in the top, so now they're on your newsletter, they're on your mailing list, that does not mean that they're actually going to read your thing. So the middle of the funnel now for a book funnel for an author is a series of emails, a welcome sequence, 1 or 2 emails, sometimes 3, depending on how deep you want to go, that starts to sort of just put yourself into their mind, right? So they picked up your reader magnet because they saw something they liked. They had dragon on the cover. It had, a wizard on the cover. Again, I use all fantasy references, obviously. The book description sounded really good. The series sounded really good. And I was going to pick up this free thing. But now the next thing is I send you a welcome email that says, hey, thanks so much for picking up a copy of, my free thing. I started writing because I loved reading about dragons and knights as a kid. You sort of tell a little bit of your story because now that you have my thing in hand, I want to put my book at the top of mine so that when you're done reading whatever you're reading, you go, oh, you know what? I wanted to read that dragon novella that I picked up, and let me see. And that is sort of where the middle of the funnel is, right? You can, if you have, a lot of this depends on the level and where you are, right? If you're an author with a deep backlist, start throwing free books at them, right? Hey, give them. I know authors that do first in series free. When you join their newsletter, you get the starter library, which is the first book in like 4 different series. Why? Because I don't care which one you read. Whichever one you read, you're going to go on and get the rest of the series, and I'm going to make money. And more likely, if I can get you to read one series, you're going to go back and read another and another and another. And I've got lifetime value and blah, 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 all that sort of stuff, right? And so the middle of the funnel looks like really, I got you in the door, and now I need to keep hitting you with little bits of things that are going to keep you moving down, right? And that can be more free things, another short story, another novella, or it really can just be emails that talk about your writing. Because ultimately what I as a reader need to know, I'm a lifelong reader. I read every single night. I crawl into bed. I'm currently reading the 5th book of Brandon Sanderson's Stormlight Archive. After reading many, many other books, right? And every time I finish a book, the very next thing I do is go grab the next book. And sometimes it's not an obvious thing for me. I go and I look at what's in my to be read pile, which is no longer like a physical stack of books beside my bed, but is instead a pile of ebooks that I have. And I'm looking for which one do I want to pick up next? And as an author, you want to make sure that you've got yours slotted right there at the top. And that's what the middle of that funnel looks like. It's keeping yourself top of mind, sending a few emails, not spamming them like one after the other, but the welcome email comes as soon as they download the freebie. And then maybe 3 or 4 days later, you say, hey, I hope you're enjoying the story. If you haven't started it yet, it's about this. It's about this. It's got dragons. It's got wizards. It's got all these things, right? As a reader, the first thing I'm looking for is, does this book match what I want to read? So I read epic fantasy. I sometimes dabble in science fiction, but for the most part, I'm an epic fantasy reader, which means your book cover, your blurb, your title, all of those things need to telegraph to me that this is a book that matches what I'm looking for. But if it's made it to my to be read pile, you've already done that part. So then the next thing I want to know is this the kind of story that I want to read? Well, that's a little harder to tell from the book cover, right? In fantasy, we have grimdark, which is like dark, gritty sort of fantasy, which is great. Sometimes I'm not in the mood for that. Sometimes I really want something that's what we used to just call fantasy is now called noble, bright fantasy. Hilarious, all the genres that we've, created. And now there's cozy fantasies. It's like, I don't want the big world ending bad guy. I want to read about, the troll who decided to open a coffee shop. And I mean, that's literature and latte. Like the literature and lattes, like it's all out there. Right. And so as the author, my job is to, well, you've got my thing. So step 1, I got you in the top of the funnel. Now I need to just slowly convince you that the next thing you want to put on the top of your to be read pile is my thing. And let me tell you why.
Perfect. Now we've talked a lot about fiction today. Now a lot of the listeners to this are non-fiction authors as well. And I think maybe a lot of them are a bit more familiar with funnels because they maybe come from sort of a more business background or that's the sort of thing they're doing. So how does the book funnel work differently for business authors or for non-fiction authors, sorry? And what would that top of the funnel look like?
So you're still going to give them. So the thing about nonfiction is, if they're coming to you, it is because you are going to solve a problem for them. Traditionally, I mean, if we're talking about nonfiction, like business type books, so not like a memoir. In a memoir, you're basically selling fiction that's not fiction. It's your real life, but you essentially are marketing it like fiction, right? Yeah. If we're talking about actual nonfiction self-help books, diet, exercise, business, all of these sort of things, then those people are coming to you because you are seen as some sort of authority and you are going to solve my problem. I'm going to take up running. I'm definitely not, just for super clear. Damon Courtney is not going to take up running, but somebody has landed on your website because you have this great book about like how to begin, a beginning running career, right? Or to launch into that. And so the funnel for that is not so different in the sense that your website kind of is the top of your funnel because you are laying out why I should listen to you. Why am I the authority on running? Well, I've run, 8,000 marathons. I've been a triathlete for 20 years, whatever it is, right? Whatever your bona fides, your expertise, that is the top of the funnel because I need to believe that you can actually solve my problem. Weight loss. I need to see that you lost weight and I'm like, wow, you did it. I can do it too. And then you're still going to offer them something free. Now, in this case, oftentimes you only have the one book, nonfiction authors don't necessarily, or you don't, there's not a series of running books. Maybe there is, but generally you're going to have like the one thing. So you don't want to give them that whole thing for free. Instead, you want to give them a smaller thing. Maybe it's a motivational. When you think about something like running or losing weight, a lot of these kinds of things are, you just need to get motivated. So I have this great small little short novella that is really just, it gives you a few of the tips from my book. And it really just gets you motivated. Motivated to what? Well, buy my book, obviously, because that's the motivation but also get running. And so the funnel is the same. Once I get you in the top, now you're on my newsletter. I want to motivate you to get up and do the thing and whatever it is that is the problem I'm solving. You want to start it. You're an entrepreneur and you want to start that new business. Great. Here's my PDF that is the business entrepreneur startup checklist, right? And it's like, make sure that you've got this. Did you file your LLC? Did you like all these sort of things? But then all I'm doing is doing further work to establish my expertise in this so that you feel confident that when I buy this person's book, they're going to solve my problem.
Yeah. Now, what are the tools that BookFunnel actually has that helps people fill that top of that funnel? Because I know we've sort of touched on a couple, but it'd be good to actually go through like exactly how does BookFunnel help you get the people into your list in the first place?
Sure. So the biggest one that we have is what we call group promos. So group promotions are, I write space opera, you write space opera, these 20 other people write space opera. If we all work together, right, we all have a reader magnet, whatever that is. It can be the first book in your series. It can be a novella or a short story that you've written that leads into your series. Whatever the free thing that we've talked about that's going to get people in the top. When you join group promos on BookFunnel, which really is just a gigantic board that you can filter down to, okay, I'm only interested in space operas. That's what I write. And so that's what I'm looking for. And if you went on BookFunnel right now, you might find 50 or 100 science fiction space opera promos that other authors who also write space opera are looking for fellow authors that we can share with. And the idea is really simple. We get 20 space opera authors together. You're going to send it to your list. I'm going to send it to my list. Each of these 20 people is going to send it to their list because, number one, we're all working on building up a list, right? We're all building that funnel at the top, but each of us has readers that the others have never seen before. So the goal is to try to get my book, my reader magnet in front of more people. That's the top of the funnel. And everybody in this promo writes space opera. So guess what? Every reader on their list, they read space opera. That's why they're there. That's why they got on the list in the first place. And so we can all share in readers because it's one of the few things where like, if you ran a restaurant locally, you would not share coupons to other restaurants because people only eat at one restaurant a day, maybe. And if in most cases, maybe once a week. And I need you to come back to my restaurant because I need to make money. That's not the way authors and readers work. As a reader, I don't read one book and I go, well, that was my book for the year. I guess I'll have to wait till next year for that other book. Like, no, I finish a book and I immediately go on and read the next. And I tend to read fairly straightforward in my genre, right? And so I'm always looking for more books in my genre that I can read, especially from, if I've gotten on your list, then that means I like you as an author. And so if you're saying, hey, these other space opera authors, you might want to give them a try. They've got some good stuff too. I'm going to go take a look. And that's where, if you're doing all your things right, your cover's good, it telegraphs space opera, your title, your blurb, all of these things say space opera, then you're already in my wheelhouse. You're already there. And I'm going to go, you know what? That looks pretty good. I'll pick that up, put it on my pile. And then you all have the same job. So group promos really help you facilitate finding other authors in your genre. And in nonfiction, right? So you can have broadly nonfiction promos. We have lots of those on BookFunnel, but then you also get narrow. We have promos that are like memoirs. So every book in this promo is some author's memoir. We have self-help. Oh, great. I'm going to join this self-help promo because I'm going to put my stuff in there. We have business promos. We have the business of writing, all of these sort of things. So the promo board on BookFunnel really helps you find all those other authors that are writing the same stuff that you are, because their readers are already predisposed to like what I'm writing. Even if I don't have a list, I can now get my book in front of readers who I know are looking for what I'm writing.
And how does it work? Do you post your book up on BookFunnel and say, hey, this is the book that I want to use as my lead magnet? Can I find other people who are doing something similar? And then you connect through BookFunnel?
So so the other feature that I didn't really talk about is called author swaps. And in the case of it, which an author swap is just you and me. I put my book up on the author swap board and say, hey, I write space opera. Here is my book. This is the actual book cover. This is the book that I am looking, the reader magnet that I'm looking to give away. And then you go browsing the swap board and you go, oh, space opera. Yeah. Oh, hey, that book looks good. So you request to swap with me. And then you send me, BookFunnel shows me your book, the book that you're offering to swap. We both go, yeah, these look really good. And we agree. So unlike a group promo where you share a promo link, you'd send out to your newsletter and say, hey, I'm in this great promotion with 20 other space opera authors. If you're interested, check it out. In the case of a swap, we would say, hey, I'm doing a swap this month, or I saw this great book by Teddy Smith. I thought you guys might like it. Check it out. Here's the book cover. It's similar to my books, right? And then that's all we're going to do. I'm going to swap. I'm going to share your book. You're going to share my book. So it's a one-on-one sort of thing. In the case of group promos, you can either choose to be the organizer. So you can set up the group promo on BookFunnel and you can say, hey, this is a space opera promo. Here's my requirements. Everybody gets one book. No man chest on the covers, no romance, whatever, right? However you want to design your promo. And then other people will see that because BookFunnel sends out email notifications and says, hey, you said you wanted to watch space opera promos. Well, here's a new one. And then they come in and join in. As a typical author, you would mostly browse the board and look for promos and go, ooh, 99-cent, promo space opera sale. That sounds really good. I was planning on putting my first book in series up for 99 cents. Let me go click on that promo and then read through it and go, yeah, this sounds good. I'm going to join. So then you join and submit your book. In most cases, by default, your book is already in the promo. And this is where I tell people, find the promos that match what you do, right? You'll see promos on BookFunnel that have gigantic space opera, right? 250 authors all doing space opera. I'm sorry, not space opera, just science fiction, right?
Yeah.
In general. And you can put your book in those. That's great. You write space opera. Guess what? That's science fiction. That's great. Don't put your dragon book in the sci-fi promo unless they specifically say sci-fi fantasy. But that said, you can also drill down and find those smaller niches where it's like, space opera. That's a smaller niche of the overall science fiction genre. So I want to join those promos specifically. But if it's an alien invasion promo and your book is not alien invasion, don't put your book in there. Number one, you're probably going to get booted out because the organizer is going to go, yeah, this isn't alien invasion. Number two, if a reader does pick up your book, it's possible that an alien invasion reader is going to like your space opera. It's also possible they're just going to throw it in the garbage because that's not what they read. And so you want to make sure that your book is matching in those. So as an author, you're generally browsing what other organizers have created. But we always tell people, if you're not finding what you're looking for, if you're not finding you want a space opera promo that has no romance and none of this stuff, and you're just not finding it, organize your own. All of the promos on BookFunnel are organized by authors just like you.
Yeah. That's really interesting. I didn't realize that you could do those group promos and just get involved with the whole other people's promotions, because that's a really exciting way to do it. Because I can see, especially, well, a lot of my audience I speak to is nonfiction, but I can see how there's so much like continuity between the different things that people are interested in. Because if you're interested in these like book business ideas, for example, there'd be lots of books around that topic.
For sure.
If your audience is interested in one, they'd be interested in all of them.
Yeah. And we have, lots and lots of features, right? We've been doing this for 10 years now. So BookFunnel does lots of great things. You can also just create a private, what we call a private promo, which doesn't get posted to the board. Instead, it creates a link that you can send out. So for example, I don't want a bunch of randos on BookFunnel joining. I'm going to do a book business promo, but I do have this great Facebook group that I monitor with lots of other authors writing nonfiction books in the book business space. So I'm going to post it there because I want to get those people to join in my promo, but I don't want it just sort of broadly available to everybody. Yeah. We have all kinds of features out there that can do that. And that's one of those ones that I really like, that people can use when they want to keep their audience small. I really want to do this promo with authors that I know. I know 6 other authors that all have great book business books. I want to do a promo with those people. So I'm just going to I'm going to email them individually and say, hey, let's just do a smaller promo. So then it's not going to be this big thing.
Yeah. Do you have any good case studies, or when some really good like book funnel launches where everything's just gone absolutely perfectly? And what was it that made it so good?
So it's been years now, and it's now become sort of the popular thing. So, if you go look at BookFunnel's promo board, you'll find that more than half of them are romance. And this is pretty standard across the industry. Right? Yeah. If you've been in this game long enough, you know that romance, it easily is half, if not more than half.
I didn't know romance was so big until I went to AuthorNation.
Right. It's gigantic, right? And BookFunnel is no exception, right? Easily 50% of the promos on BookFunnel are romance. What the romance authors figured out when you talk about funnels. So this started years and years ago, and I actually went to Novelist Inc., the NINC conference in September, back in 2017, and I took with me what we had seen this author do, which I thought was amazing. And what it was you read to the end of her series. It was a 3-book series, and at the end of her 3-book series, she offered a bonus epilogue, and it was essentially a romance series. The couple gets together, and then at the end, they live happily ever after. But if you wanted to find out what happened at the wedding a year later, you can join my newsletter and read the 5,000 word bonus epilogue. Well, who the heck gets to the end of a 3-part romance and doesn't want to read about the wedding? But she had like 40,000 people sign up for her newsletter over the course of a couple of weeks because everybody wants to see that. Now, she did a great job. It didn't feel like a rug pull. She gave you the end of the story. So it wasn't like a cliffhanger and then, oh, no. If you want to read the rest of the book, you're going to have to go sign up for my newsletter. It really was like a bonus epilogue, but it was masterfully done. Now you see that in romance everywhere. The bonus chapter, the extended epilogue, that sort of thing is very, very popular in romance now because it works. The reason it works so well is it becomes self-selecting. If I get to the end of the book or the end of a short series and I didn't like it, I don't need to read the bonus short story. I don't care. I didn't like this book.
Yeah.
But if I did and I liked it, then I want to read what happens next. I want to read the last little nugget of the story. And so by the time those people land on your list, it's more than just the top of the funnel. Again, they're already midway down the funnel. You've read one of my books. I have all of this data. You read one of my books. You liked one of my books. You clicked the link in the back of the book and you were willing to give up your email address to get this short story. That means you're already on your way to becoming a fan of mine.
Yeah.
That's amazing. It works extremely well. And it also becomes like this free short story. It's not valuable to anybody else. I could put it up on my website and it doesn't matter. People who've never read the book, who cares, right? It's like watching the end sequence of a Marvel movie you've never seen. It's meaningless. It doesn't mean anything to me. And so that one little idea that we saw, and then of course I started going to conferences and telling people, because one of the things that I do when I go to conferences and give talks is, I haven't been publishing since 2014. So it's been 10 years since I published a book, but every single day on BookFunnel, we see what the other authors are out there doing. And we see the ones that are like, wow, they're really blowing the doors off. What are they doing? Wow, that's a really great idea. And so oftentimes I come on and I talk to people. I'm really telling you what other authors are doing that is working so well in the industry right now.
That strategy of putting them at the end could be a really nice strategy for non-fiction books as well, because I could see how you could get to the end of the book, you've really enjoyed reading something, and then you think, okay, I just want to get the template so I can just get on and do this.
Yep.
Or, you could write a book about how to do BookFunnels, and then at the end it's like, right, got to go sign up for BookFunnels. I mean, yeah, you can see exactly how this would work for non-fiction books. That's really interesting. I have to go and have a think about that a bit more.
Workbooks are great in nonfiction because I'm telling you how to do something, and then here, let me help you get started on it. Let me give you this great motivational checklist that you can start with. You're writing, if you're doing whatever weight loss books, hey, get my free cookbook. This is, but that's the thing at the end, right? That's the magnet, and once again, it becomes a little self-selecting. I don't really need your checklist if I haven't at least read the book and understand what I'm doing. I don't need the workbook if I'm not planning to do the work. And so by the time you get to the end of the book, you know that you have somebody lands on your list because they wanted the workbook. You know that they read your book. They picked up your book, they read your book, and they're motivated. And so at that moment, when you capture that data, that's when you start sending them emails. You send them a sequence that says, okay, this person's here. They're motivated to start running. So I want to use my funnel. I want to use my email sequence as a way to keep them motivated and say, hey, you can do it. Here's the workbook that I promised you. And also, you're going to get an email every week. I'm going to check in with you and see how your running journey is going. Right?
Yeah. That's amazing.
Or in the case of books, so like, hey, I see this all the time. I meet authors and I'm like, how's your word count going? Are you getting your writing done? Have you published? If you were putting out writing books, if you were putting out book business books, that the workbook that says, okay, your next step is to get your book finished and then do this and do this and do this and this. And hey, you're going to get an email every week from me that's just checking in on you and seeing how's your book journey going.
Yeah. I think we're going to have to get you on to do a demo of the tool properly so that we can go through exactly some of these features. I think it'd be amazing to really go through it and see exactly how it would work for each different scenario. I think.
Yeah, that'd be great.
Really good. Yeah. Thank you so much for coming on. It's been super interesting. I mean, funnels are, a lot of people in the book industry, they're writing their books because they want to create a business, especially in non-fiction world. They want to create a business out of it, not just by selling books, by building a bit of a wider business. And I can see exactly how BookFunnels will fit in to build all of those different parts out and connect them all together. So yeah, thank you so much for coming on and explaining how it works.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
If people want to get in touch with you, what's the best way to do that?
BookFunnel.com. We try not to be too clever about it.
That's easy. Well, great. Thank you so much for coming on, Damon, and we'll speak again soon.
Absolutely.
Thank you so much for tuning into the Publishing Performance Podcast. I really hope you found today's episode inspiring. I love chatting to authors, writers, and people in the publishing world. Now, just before we wrap up, let me tell you about Publishing Performance, the #1 platform for authors who want to increase Amazon book sales, but are not really sure where to start. Now, this show is all about helping you to sell more books. And if you're looking to boost your publishing game and to maximize your book's potential on Amazon, then Publishing Performance is designed to help authors just like you to grow your readership and to reach a much wider audience. Now, I know that Amazon ads can be slightly complicated, which is why Publishing Performance is like having a personalized ad account manager to create your ad campaigns, to choose your best keywords, and to make adjustments in real time. Now, if you're investing in ads, you really want to make sure that your investment is being used effectively, and Publishing Performance does just that. It aims to make your budget go further, improve your organic rank, and target keywords more effectively. Just go to publishingperformance.com to get started with Amazon ads for just $1. Thank you so much for tuning into the Publishing Performance Podcast. I really hope you found today's episode inspiring. I love chatting to authors, writers, and people in the publishing world. Now, just before we wrap up, let me tell you about Publishing Performance, the #1 platform for authors who want to increase Amazon book sales, but are not really sure where to start. Now, this show is all about helping you to sell more books. And if you're looking to boost your publishing game and to maximize your book's potential on Amazon, then Publishing Performance is designed to help authors just like you to grow your readership and to reach a much wider audience. Now, I know that Amazon ads can be slightly complicated, which is why Publishing Performance is like having a personalized ad account manager to create your ad campaigns, to choose your best keywords, and to make adjustments in real time. Now, if you're investing in ads, you really want to make sure that your investment is being used effectively, and Publishing Performance does just that. It aims to make your budget go further, improve your organic rank, and target keywords more effectively. Just go to publishingperformance.com to get started with Amazon ads for just $1.